Hey there, Internet. Really, I'm just making a very quick video here. I had a couple of things I wanted to talk or rant about. Really, the first major one is, in my very first video, I talked about Forza Horizon and how much I enjoyed it despite not really being much of a racing fan. And I was looking forward to getting Forza Horizon 2. Well, I bought Forza Horizon 2. And I want to give a big warning out to people, really, because this game is not very well made. At least the Xbox 360 version isn't very well made. There's a number of issues with it, really. It's buggy like hell. And it doesn't look like any of that's going to get fixed very, very soon. I did check very quickly before I recorded this video this morning, and there is still no update for the game. But first of all, I actually really want to talk about an issue that's come up very, very recently. Essentially what they've done is they've released the game, and a week after release they announced that, well, Turn 10 announced that they have no plans for any downloadable content for the game. And the reward scheme as well, the loyalty scheme, that's not going to be available on the Xbox 360 version. Now, where I would say usually with most games that wouldn't be very much of an issue, with Forza it kind of is, because half the fun of the games was seeing what downloadable content came online, the cars that were available, things like that. It all very much appealed. Downloadable content was a very big part of the Forza games. Now, on the back of the box, it does actually state that there is game content download for this game. Bearing in mind that then a week later, like I said, Turn 10 then announced that there would be no DLC for the game. To me, that's false advertising. And the thing is, they probably could pass it off as they have leaderboards on there. Technically it's content that's getting downloaded, information from other players, but that is very, very misleading. It's not good that they've done this, basically. And I think it is an issue. Other than that, the bugs in the game, some of them are game breakers, whereas a lot of them are things like you will crash into things that aren't there. Like, you could be driving along the motorway and suddenly your car will just flip, which I like to call Alone in the Dark syndrome, as that was another game that had very similar problems to that. The collision boxes as well seem to be a bit off. Sometimes you will near miss a car, which is a skill within the game, and you'll hit them despite clearly not. It works the other way though. Sometimes you can clash with a car head on and it will give you a near miss score, which seems very, very odd. In terms of game breakers though, the skill linking and skill combos on the game, basically the more skills you do in a row within a certain time limit, it builds up a skill multiplier. There's also like a lapse between the end of a skill chain and the beginning of a new one. It used to be in the old Forza game, if you missed a skill by the time the timer went up, it automatically went straight into a new skill chain afterwards. That is gone in this game. You have to wait a good between 5 and 10 seconds before you can start a new skill chain after your last one's ended. This is a game breaker, simply because there are challenges within the game where you have to go off and you have to perform so many skills. The one I'm going to pick here is actually one where you had to perform something like either 15 or 20 E-drifts in 2 minutes. E-drifts basically being where you hit the handbrake and drift, basically. You had to perform, like I said, sorry, I will be back in a moment. Sorry about that, live postman delivery. I could well unbox that later for the video. I won't. Anyway, where was I? E-drifting in the game. Well, the problem is, with the skill chains needing between 5 and 10 seconds in order to reset a new skill chain, it simply meant that You could either get very long chains together or fail the challenge entirely. Now, you may be saying to yourself, yeah, in that case, you just need to improve. You need to be able to chain together more skills. But here's the thing. I did the challenge by doing chaining together one or two E-drifts, then deliberately crashing, then going into it again, rinse and repeat until it was done. This isn't the way the game is supposed to be played, I would think, because this actually registers. Every time you do an E-drift, whether the skill gets banked or not, it still does that. Anyway, they're my grievances anyway about Forza Horizon 2. There are other things as well. I've seen a lot of people complaining online about graphical issues in the game. And to be honest, the textures for the backdrops and things like that, they aren't good, but they're passable. They're still okay. I've also seen people complaining about the graphics for the cars as well. The car models not being so good. I don't agree with that at all. The car models in this game still look very, very good. Every bit up to the level of Forza Horizon, if not better. Now, here's where the other problem is. Basically, I've seen people online having gotten in touch with Sumo to ask when they're going to address all these bugs and all these issues. Sumo have referred people to Turn 10. Turn 10 are maintaining complete radio silence over this. They're not saying anything, so really it seems like they just don't care about the Xbox 360 version and are going to solely function with the Xbox One version. Sorry, not function, but you get what I mean. This could cause big problems, especially with the week we've just had in video gaming, where there's been a lot of complaints about Assassin's Creed Unity being released broken, upon other stories as well. I know there's been a lot of talk recently about game companies releasing unfinished games filled with bugs that will be fixed with a patch, basically, and whether they should be doing it. Right, the problem here is not everyone has bought into a new console just yet. Most people I know are either just buying the next-gen consoles, or they're doing it very soon. And the problem is there's a lot of people that play racing games. They are their main source of play. And the problem is right now, it's been proven recently that really it only takes one bad game in order to put some people off. And people won't care that the Xbox One version of Forza Horizon 2 is a hell of a lot better. People will judge it based on the last game they played. An example of that being that sales of the new Call of Duty Advanced Warfare have not been as good. This is largely down to how poor Ghosts was. It puts certain people off. There's no denying that at all. So basically you have a lot of people that are still looking at consoles, which console to get, whether they're going to stay on Xbox One or switch over to PS4 or vice versa. And right now those racing fans will be thinking to themselves, maybe Xbox One isn't for me. Forza's really the big racing game that Xbox have, and PlayStation have just released Drive Club, which is a new racing franchise that a lot of people may be looking at and thinking, maybe I'll give that a try. It's a dangerous game that Turn 10 are playing, and I think there's really no denying that. And yeah, I know a lot of you are going to say right now that Drive Club has its problems. I've seen a lot of documented problems about Drive Club as well, but it's a new franchise, it's something fresh, and some people are going to be attracted to that and are probably going to abandon Xbox One in favour of a PS4, which actually I know most people have been doing anyway. I have to admit, I'm more drawn towards PS4 than I am Xbox One right now. I still haven't bought into the next-gen consoles. So really, that's it. Developers playing with fire. We'll see what happens. Right, now on to my next thing. Funnily enough, these parcels actually are somewhat related to it. I actually wanted to talk about PS2 games, and what the appeal is with me. And And I'll start just by saying, first of all, I finally got some capture software. So I'm going to be having a look at that very soon, and hopefully I'll be able to start some game reviews of some sort very, very soon. In fact, sooner than I'd hoped, really. And like I said, I'm really trying to focus on PS2 games, and there's a reason for that. Mostly because at the moment, NES and SNES games are getting rather expensive because they're becoming more collectible. I think in large part due to the number of game reviewers out there that are looking at these games and showing off just what charm they had. And it's fair to say, PS2 games do not have the same level of charm that NES and SNES games had. But there are enough people looking at them, if I'm perfectly honest with you. Whereas I know as well PS2s, everyone owned them. They were probably the first real mainstream console, maybe along with the PS1. Really, the main reason is because right now it's cheap to buy them and they are readily available. As an example, these are very recent purchases. This cost me probably, you look at any of the new release games like Call of Duty, you look at Destiny, any of them like that, that pile of games do not equate to the same price yet as buying one of those. And I know a lot of you may be thinking, yeah, you can buy bundles for cheap, but you tend to get crap. They were all bought individually. They are very, very cheap right now. Like I said, they are readily available, so you can build yourself up a collection relatively quickly. Are they ever going to be as valuable as NES or SNES games? No. No, really, for a number of reasons as well. Because the original NES, that console basically saved the home console market. There was, of course, a game crash in the 80s, and Nintendo very much revived the industry again. So for that reason, they've got historical value to them. On top of that as well, they do not damage as easily. These games, you get a scratch on one and that can be the end of the game. You basically have to go off and buy yourself another copy. So far, I have played every single one of those and they are all in perfect working order. They're not in the best condition. Secondly, I know a lot of you will be saying as well, none of those games are up to the quality of any of the new generation of games. And yes, again, you are 100% right. But that's not to say that you still can't get hours and hours of fun out of those. I haven't looked to see how much you can actually pick up a PS2 console for at the moment, but I'm sure you can pick one up relatively cheap. I know I have seen them around car boot sales and flea markets going for around, if you're lucky, £20 you can get one for. But of course you always run the risk of them not working, but for £20 it really isn't much hassle really at all. Saying that, I would say £50 at most is probably what you'd be spending on one of those consoles, but even that I would say you're probably paying over the odds for. So yeah, really I'm going to be having a look at those, going through my PS2 collection, picking out the good stuff for larger reviews. I may be splitting up into mini reviews as well for other ones, just to pass the time really. Because really that brings me on to site news, and I finally finished the Halloween video. I'm very, very relieved to have that out of the way now and to have that up. Like I said, I'm an amateur at this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm very much starting off. So a lot of this is still very new to me. So although it was late, I'm very happy to get that out of the way. And because it was late, I am already starting on my Christmas video, and that's my next big project. There may be mini things up in the meantime, a few mini reviews on video games. I may be doing more of the mystery box, and of course there's probably going to be more vlogs like this. Really, that's it really. I just wanted to get my grievances out of the way for Forza Horizon 2, talk a little bit about why I was looking at PS2 games and why I should be having a look at them, because there's still a lot of good games out there. I'll definitely be highlighting one or two that probably still stand up today. And really that's it. Until the next video.